Hey guys, this is Attorney Walter Knott with Disability Resolution PA. We're going to be going through a couple of details specifically about the fourth stimulus, and here's the thing. I've been looking up articles that people have been writing to get kind of the resource material to figure out what their expectations are when doing these things. So I just want to go through those with you quickly. This is from this particular news station. The whole idea here is, here's why you might not get another stimulus. Now remember, I'm on vacation, there's no backdrop, the lighting's not perfect, and there's an AC unit blaring in the corner, but here we go. Here's why you might not get another stimulus check. Some members of Congress want more recurring payments. Better tell that to people who never picked theirs up. Okay, so what's happening is the politicians are using this idea that those people who didn't pick up their benefits, right, their stimulus checks, well, at this point, you know, they don't need other people that did pick them up. They don't need their stimulus checks because these other people that never picked theirs up, you know, obviously they didn't need it. Now, we all know that this is the most moronic thinking that could occur on a political stage. I don't know how stupid they could be, but apparently they're that stupid to think that those who didn't need it didn't claim it. Now, let's forgive them for not accounting for those individuals who are passed away and still on those lists. Those individuals that shouldn't be on the list but are on the list, you know, could be somebody that's not a proper American citizen or not with the proper green card, not with proper naturalization. Those individuals who basically have no way of getting it, right? They don't have transportation, they don't have a phone, they don't access the internet. So they're using those people with these types of articles as the reasoning as to why the people who got the check and needed the check and literally used the check, they're using those other people as the reason why they shouldn't do another check. I know it's stupid, but that's unfortunately the level of intelligence we're dealing with in the political arena. Let's keep going. Some members of Congress want more recurring payments. Better tell that to people who never picked theirs up. This is by Herb Scribner. June 21st, 2021, 3:30 p.m. All right. President Donald Trump's name is seen on stimulus check issued by the IRS to help combat the adverse economic effects of the COVID-19 outbreak. There's their cute little picture of a stim check. Let's keep rolling. All right. There's a new major reason why you might not receive a fourth or fifth stimulus check in 2021. Millions of Americans haven't even picked up their first round of payments. Now, remember, this is the worst argument that politicians could come up with because those people who needed it got access to it. But there's still people who can't get access to it, and there's a heck of a lot of dead people on these lists that are still voting but not picking up their checks. Will there be a fourth stimulus check? Congress could be discussing another round of stimulus checks this week as demand continues to climb for another round of payments, as I wrote for the news station. Now that Congress is meeting once again, discussions surrounding another stimulus payment are likely, per Yahoo Finance. Could Congress talk about stimulus checks soon? Some lawmakers have called for another round of stimulus checks, including Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. No surprise. But other lawmakers have argued that stimulus money should be lower on the agenda because the country's economy is recovering well from the pandemic, according to CNET. Now, just because they're seeing some recovery by the mega businesses does not mean that the small businesses are recovering in the same way. A lot of those guys had to take a loan to pay for everything while they were in existence during the COVID, virus outbreak, and then, of course, the vaccine season and things like that. So if they're saying, hey, look, we're having a great recovery, then they're probably living in a moronic land of thinking because, let's call it like it is, there's lots of companies out there that aren't doing so great. And what you're going to see first about economic recovery, which anybody will tell you with a basic understanding and financial analysis, is that the big companies are going to recover the fastest first because they have the most scale with the capability to go ahead and send out lots of products that were being purchased before. And everybody's just going to flood to them first because they're the easiest ones to buy from online nowadays. In addition, they also have the capacity to lose some fat and then go again and be fine. They also have the capacity to earn the most money the fastest to pay off debts that they incurred during that time. All these things small companies can't do. Small companies can't do what Amazon is doing. Small companies can't do what big companies are doing with loans. Big companies are doing with getting rid of employees and bringing them back. They can't do that. It's just they don't have that capacity. Next thing. Some lawmakers have called for another round of stimulus checks, including blah, blah, blah. Did people spend their checks? Recent data from the Internal Revenue Service obtained by the Boston Herald shows that there are 1,245,339 stimulus checks that have not been spent. States like California, Florida, Texas, New York, and Pennsylvania lead the pack for unspent checks, the Boston Herald reports. Now think about that for a moment. Does that mean that they didn't put it into their account? Does that mean that they had access to your account and could see where your money was going? Does that mean that basically the checks came in and they were just holding it for whatever purpose? Because remember, people who have money use that money for investments. They don't let it sit in the bank account. You know when your parents would tell you, you need to save. You need to save so one day you can have a lot of money. We all know that that's a lie now. We all know that that's incorrect thinking. We all know that that is bad financial choice. Right? We know that now because in order to make money, you have to invest money into something that makes money. You can't just put it in the bank and magically hope that it ultimately becomes something big because there's no interest rate of real value. So the bottom line is, people with money are going to invest this money, which means they spent the money. They spent it into some sort of investment. However, here's the kicker. Sorry guys, so my dog was eating one of the pieces of a dog gate, which is ironic. But either way, here we go. So the bottom line here is this. We've basically got poor people who get the checks and spend it on money, middle class people who get the checks, and what they usually do is go ahead and pay off credit card debt, pay off bills because they have got tons of credit card debt. Then you've got the wealthy people, they're investing these checks. So then who are these 1,245,000 people with stimulus checks that they're not actually spending? Let's see if it goes into that. The IRS told the Boston Herald the data shows the number of people who either refused to accept, paid back, or not cashed the stimulus checks they received from the IRS as a result of the CARES Act that was signed into law on March 27, 2020. Let's look at those words. They said the number of people who either refused to accept, they didn't go and get it. I love how they put refused to accept. No, they just didn't go and get it. It's not that somebody was at their door going, hey, do you want this? And the person goes, I am revoking my ability to receive. No, it means they didn't go and get it. Not that they were like face to face with a federal agent trying to give them money. Next thing, paid back or not cashed. Why would you pay that back? Who pays that back? It's federal stimulus money. Who would pay that back? Unless a party received it and they weren't supposed to. But then that's a totally different metric for this statistic. The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget recently said there is more than $1 trillion of stimulus check money that hasn't been spent. Some of the money has not been spent due to slow or low demand, the organization said, according to the Boston Herald. So let me get this straight. When somebody actually wants money, and they have free stimulus money, that all they need to do is check in with the government as to where it is. Now, here's the thing. I checked in 7 times with the IRS as to where any of my stimulus checks were. I would fall into the category of those who basically refuse to accept, even after I checked in 7 times with the IRS as to where's the stimulus checks for me. You see, you're starting to see the fall through here. You're starting to see the problem with this statistical analysis and how it's absolutely moronically incorrect. Let's continue. Some of the money has not been spent due to slow or low demand. Yeah, well, you know what? When we call you guys, we usually can't. I couldn't get an answer. Maybe some other people could, but I certainly couldn't get an answer as to what happened to it. Why a fourth check is unlikely. U.S. House Republican Whip Steve Scalise said there shouldn't be more stimulus payments because there's already so much money still unclaimed. Honestly, what? You want to go outside? You want to go downstairs? Hold on, guys. Some of the money has not been spent due to slow or low demand, the organization said, according to the Boston Herald. U.S. House Republican Whip Steve Scalise said there shouldn't be more stimulus payments because there's already so much money still unclaimed. Republican Whip Steve Scalise, I don't know how to pronounce his last name because it'd be pronounced many ways. That's correct, yeah. So the bottom line is this. If you think that the government's effective ability to distribute anything is foolproof, half decent, or even good, or let's say it's bad, but you still think it's okay. The problem here is that the system that's set up was not set up to have a group of people in the federal government going to those who never received the actual check and then checking with them to see, hey, have you tried to collect your check yet? Some of us have called the IRS multiple times. It's not the IRS's fault that they couldn't do it. The first time I called in, it took an hour and 13 minutes to get somebody on the phone. And then after that, they went ahead and put me on hold. And then after waiting 30 minutes, it hung up. They did not have a group going around and seeing who received it and who didn't. In fact, that would be a great way to find out who voted and who's dead and who's not. Who's alive and actually doing the proper things in America as an American citizen, and who was an American citizen who's no longer alive. So the problem I have with this House Republican is that he has the great disease of being a moron. That's the problem here. Because he's presenting an argument with the expectation that at the end of the day, the government system worked for distribution, which we all know that for many people, the government system did not work for distribution. Because let me ask you this. How many people do you know give up free money? Let me put that again. How many people do you know give up free money? Not taxed, but free and clear money. There's nobody you know that would give that up. There's not a single person. Even the millionaires are like, yeah, I'll take it. No problem. I'll take it. No problem. Of course, this check didn't go to them, but all these other people that were within the financial regulations and requirements to go ahead and allow that money to pass through to them, they would have taken it, not saying, oh, I give up my right to it. I don't need it. Nobody would do that. What this is a statistical proof, a metric of proof to show that the government has an inability, complete inability, to go ahead at $1 trillion over 1 million people to distribute them correctly to everybody that needs them. Think about that. Think about that. That's 1 million people. That's a lot of people. That's $1 trillion. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of people and a lot of money. And I bet you a good portion of that are people that are not even alive anymore, who are out there voting left and right. Let's keep going. Paul Diego Craney, spokesman for the Mass Fiscal Alliance, told the Boston Herald something similar. To me, it means if people wanted to get those checks, they'd find a way to obtain them, he told the Boston Herald. What's fairly clear is Massachusetts needs to open up 100% and get back to normal. Okay, here's why that's stupid. First and foremost, you are speaking about this on a federal, everywhere, all states combined level, and then referring to a singular state, but you do not have the metric that you presented in this article as to how many people in that particular state are actually affected by it. So your state might be one that has almost everybody who got it, in which case if everybody got it and took it, then your argument that people didn't need it because there's still money left over is void and moot. That's it. That's the article. That's the whole thing. That's how... Oh, wait, hold on. No. There's more. There's more. It's the SEO stuff. They put all this crap in between it. All right. There most likely will not be a fourth round of stimulus checks for most Americans, but some might get a form of financial relief in July. There will likely come in the form of the expanded child tax credit. It's just the child tax credit stuff. Child tax credit. Okay. So that's basically the main juxt of this whole argument, which is absolutely moronic. It makes no sense. And when I sit back and I listen to these politicians, I know that either they have brain disease or brain cancer or something going on in their head, or at this point it's one of those situations where they're just not capable of creating functional logistical ideas in a chain that would ultimately render a proper decision. And the sad thing about it is that we elected these people who are then turning around and stabbing us over and over and over again. And it's Republicans and Democrats. It's Republicans and Democrats. So let's do some basic thinking here. Let's say person A got their check and person B didn't get their check. Person A needed the money. Person B didn't know that they could get it, or tried to get it and couldn't get it, or they were incapacitated during the process of it due to medical issues, or they were dead. Are any of these good excuses to say that person A shouldn't get another check as part of the recovery to keep people moving forward? The answer is no. None of them are acceptable reasons. In fact, all of them are reasons to promote the identity of having a better system of distribution with checks and balances and real people on the ground, like HR 1030 talked about, with some sort of federal corpse that would go around and help people do wellness checks and check for fraud, as opposed to what these articles are presenting, which are a bunch of, in my opinion, completely mentally unregistered people with reality. They cannot form they cannot present, they cannot go forward with logical ideas to help the people if they cannot see that the people who took the check needed the check. Now, yes, they have so much money, these people, these politicians, that they look at it as like, somebody didn't need the check. Well, a lot of them must have not needed it. 1 million plus people didn't need it too. $1 trillion worth didn't need it. But we all know that people that don't have money don't think like these politicians. We all know that people who don't have money don't live like these politicians. If you don't live that life, you can't see the life and make the decisions and have the understanding of those who don't have money. When it doesn't matter to you whether or not you get $1,400 that week, that month, that year, that decade, then guess what? You don't understand what it's like to be in a crunch all the time. And if you're in a crunch all the time as part of a pandemic that the United States shut down the entire government and all of the lovely little companies, C Corps, S Corps, LLCs, shut down the economy. If you don't realize how moronic it is to say that, the people who took the check needed the check, but apparently they didn't need it enough because other people didn't take a bunch of checks as well, then you should not be a politician. Because the point of a politician is inherently simple. It is to understand the needs of the people, the will of the people, the desire of the people, and to then legislate as such. That's it. It's that simple. My name is Attorney Walter Knott. If you like this channel, excellent. Leave a like, subscribe. Please also leave 5-star reviews. They help me compete against the big box law firms. I'll catch you a little bit later and we'll go from there. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.